Earth is a wonderful place, filled with more weird and wonderful creatures than you could possibly imagine. With that said, thanks to climate change, habitat destruction, and even poaching, many of them are disappearing at alarming rates. So, to document the amazing animals that may not be around for much longer, here are 10 extremely rare animals you'll want to save.
Amazing!
Number 10. Pangolin. Pangolins might not be the rarest creature on this list, but they are one of the most unique. Found across Africa and Asia, these heavily armored little critters are pretty much invulnerable to natural predators. They can even withstand a lion attack by curling into a ball. However, the 8 species of pangolin that currently exist range from vulnerable to critically endangered because they face a number of different threats. In China and Vietnam, their meat is considered a delicacy, and they're prized among healers for their apparent medicinal qualities. Many believe their ground-up scales can cure asthma and even cancer, which puts them even more at risk. Not only that, but they're believed to be the most trafficked animal in the world, with over 1 million of them being illegally shipped across borders in the past decade. This, added to the threat of deforestation they already face, makes them the target of many conservation efforts. Number 9. Largetooth Swordfish. The Largetooth Swordfish is also known as the common sawfish, so it may surprise you to know just how rare they actually are. It's impossible to estimate just how many currently exist in the wild, as the records just don't exist, but studies indicate that the species is in sharp decline. For example, the sawfish could historically be found in 75 countries. However, it has gone from 28 and may have vanished from another 27. That leaves only 20 countries where its presence has recently been recorded, and even those populations are at risk. Given that it now occupies less than 39% of its original habitat, it has now been classified as critically endangered thanks to a host of different threats. Their main problem is overfishing, but habitat destruction is also a problem. In addition to this, their fins and saws are often sold as novelty items for decoration or shark fin soup, which has depleted their numbers even more. Number 8. Northern Bald Ibis. Now, the decline of this next animal has been happening for a long time, but has increased rapidly in recent years due to humanity. The Northern Bald Ibis is an unusual and critically endangered bird that was once found all over the planet. There are now less than 250 both in the wild and in captivity. The reasons for this are not fully understood, as natural causes had put the population in decline for centuries. However, between 1900 and 2002, 98% of the population disappeared in total, with modern causes only putting extra strain on the species. Some have been killed by pesticides, some by hunting, but many are just suffering from a lack of habitat. Speaking of unique-looking birds that are at risk, the spoon-billed sandpiper is another unusual specimen that may not be around for much longer. There are estimated to be less than 200 mature breeding pairs in total, which has led to the species being reclassified as critically endangered. Their annual rate of decline is 26%, mostly due to the loss of their habitat and winter migration grounds. Number 7. Sumatran rhinoceros. Many rhinoceros species have dealt with population decline in recent history, and unfortunately, the Sumatran rhino is no different. This species can be identified by its shaggy red hair and ability to climb mountains, but these days it is rare to see one in the wild. After the mainland population in Malaysia went extinct in 2015, there are less than 100 individuals on the planet in total. These numbers are almost completely down to illegal poaching, as the horns of a rhinoceros can fetch a very high price. As well as trophies, the horns are often used in amulets, due to the belief that they offer protection against poison. However, it isn't only the horn that is in demand, as the dried meat has been used to treat everything from diarrhea to leprosy. Aside from poaching, the rainforests where they live are often targeted by illegal loggers, as the woods found there, like Meranti and Semaram, are rare and valuable. The black rhino is also still at risk, with 3 subspecies declared extinct. and the others still categorized as critically endangered. Number 6. Cuban Greater Funnel-Eared Bat. Now, what makes the Cuban Greater Funnel-Eared Bat so interesting is that aside from knowing it is at risk of extinction, we know very little about it. Like its name suggests, the species has huge funnel-like ears and also has a tail as long as its head and body combined. It also has a collection of wiry white hair on its upper lip, which people have often likened to a mustache. Its unique appearance makes it a target for conservationists worldwide, but the creature is still at risk as it has only one known habitat. A single colony exists in a cave on the Cuban island Isla de la Juventud, and that's the only place they can be found. Even though there are plenty of bats in that one cave, the concentration puts them at huge risk, as a single disease outbreak or natural disaster could wipe them out completely. Currently, there are less than 100 mature individuals in existence at all, which makes them one of the rarest species on Earth. Number 5. Tree kangaroo. Another rare and fascinating at-risk animal is the tree kangaroo, as it represents a serious divergence in evolution. Basically, macropods, that's the family of marsupials that includes kangaroos and wallabies, used to all live in the trees until they climbed down and grew into the creatures we know today. However, the ancestors of tree kangaroos climbed back up to live in the branches, and they haven't come down since. The species as a whole is at risk, but not endangered. But certain subspecies are considered either critically endangered or extinct, with some having as few as 50 individual animals left. This is due to deforestation taking away their homes, leaving them exposed to new predators, such as domestic dogs. The land they used to live on is now mostly used for coffee, rice, and wheat production, and them being more exposed leaves them vulnerable to hunting. Tree kangaroos are hunted by many communities and native tribes, which puts even more stress on their numbers than already exists. Number 4. Hainan black-crested gibbon and Tonkin snub-nosed monkey. Speaking of tree dwellers, the Hainan black-crested gibbon is maybe the rarest primate in the world, with the last count finding only 22 animals in the world. These were split into 2 families, and 4 loners all existing very close together, which means a single storm or epidemic could completely wipe them out. The reason for their low numbers is mostly habitat destruction, as the land they call home is being used for other things. Over 25% of their habitat has been turned into pulp thanks to illegal paper plantations, and constant logging has forced them to abandon the lowland trees they should be living in. Now they live in higher altitudes, which is a far less suitable habitat. Another at-risk primate is the Tonkin snub-nosed monkey, but thankfully for them, the story isn't quite so dark. The species was said to be extinct until around the 1990s, when a small population was discovered in Vietnam. Now, studies suggest there are around 250 individuals living in various different places, making them critically endangered, but in a far better position. The reason for their low number is simple, as habitat loss and hunting have put them continuously at risk. Number 3. Giant panda. Everyone knows the giant panda as a symbol of animal conservation worldwide, but that doesn't mean the species is actually safe. Despite the many efforts to save them and increase their population, the giant panda is still the most at-risk bear species, with only 1,600 remaining. This is due to a number of factors, including their reluctance to breed both in the wild and in captivity. In fact, bears in general are struggling. For example, the sun bear is another species that is greatly threatened by extinction and is currently considered vulnerable. In 2006, a study concluded that in Thailand, hunters had reduced the sun bear population by 50% in just 20 years. Overall, sun bears have declined by at least 30% over the past 30 years, and they are continuing to decline at the same rate. Hunters are not the only thing to blame, as irresponsible logging has also squeezed the population into smaller and smaller areas. Forest fires and the clearing of forest for industries like palm oil have led to us finding desperate creatures like this famous hairless sun bear, which was found in such horrible condition that many found it hard to look at. Sadly, it passed away shortly after the images were released, and if you'd like to do your bit to protect them, you should avoid buying palm oil products. Number 2. Amur leopard. While the Amur leopard might be the rarest big cat in history, the story isn't all bad. You see, while at one point the population had dipped to as low as just 20 individuals worldwide, conservation efforts seem to be working, as there are now around 70 individuals in total. Of course, their gene pool is so small now that they're at risk of inbreeding. But at the very least, there may be some hope for this beautiful but rarely seen creature. As for why they're so rare, their habitat has been destroyed by irresponsible logging, forest fires, industrialization, and even farming. Poaching is also a problem, as the Russian villages surrounding where they live are often unregulated. Another rare big cat, though not technically a species, is the white lion, which is the result of a naturally occurring mutation that produces lions with white fur and blonde manes. These white lions were taken into captivity and bred when they were first discovered, and have since been reintroduced into the wild. They're incredibly rare, but their unusual appearance apparently has no adverse effects on their survival. Number 1. Vaquita. Vaquita were discovered just over 60 years ago, and yet they're already on the brink of extinction. The rarest marine mammal in the world, only 30 individuals could be found in 2016, which dropped to just 12 in March of this year. This dramatic drop is due to the fact that they're often caught and drowned in fishing nets, a problem which was so big it caused a partial ban on nets. However, despite millions being invested into this animal, it is unlikely that it will continue to exist unless a captive breeding program is successful. Given their incredibly low numbers, there is a worry that poachers may find the remaining animals before the program does. Vaquita are not the only porpoises at risk, however, as the Yangtze finless porpoise now has a population of under 1,000. This rare species could be extinct as early as 2025, unless drastic action is taken to reduce human disturbance in their habitat. Lack of food is also a major problem for the species. Both species look to be going the way of the Baji dolphin, a close relative of the Yangtze that has been declared functionally extinct. And finally, possibly the rarest creature ever photographed. Here is a two-headed porpoise. It was picked up by a Dutch trawler near Hoek van Holland and is the first known case of conjoined twin porpoises. But don't get angry at the fishermen just yet. University officials confirmed that the porpoises died shortly after birth because the tail had not stiffened, which allows newborn porpoises to swim. Despite the threat our activities pose to these animals, we can all do our bit to try and save them. If you could choose, which animal would you like to save the most? And will you change any of your ways to help prevent their habitat destruction? Let me know in the comment section down below. Thanks for watching.